when we talk about the like modern rosé resurgence, you hear people say things like, it's not your grandma's rosé, and like, yeah, they're different. They've evolved quite a bit. There's this perception that rosés used to be very sweet, or a lot of people still think of them as very sweet. Well, today we're going to look at two French rosés that kind of show some of that range of dryness. So two that are in very approachable styles, very approachable price points, so easy drinking, affordable rosés. And I'm actually going to do these literally side by side today because I think there's actually this sort of fun thing to learn about these wines and sort of French style by seeing how they really compare. So starting with Les Violettes, these guys are Côte du Rhone producer. They're actually in the Southern Rhone. So this is Grenache and Syrah based, a little bit of Mouvedre and Sancerre in there as well. And then we have from Anjou, Rosé d'Anjou from Chateau du Montgueret. So Anjou is a region that is definitely known for rosé. It has a history of making kind of the sweeter style of rosé. This is made out of the grapes of Gamay, which is sort of known for up in Beaujolais and Burgundy, and Gros, which is totally an Anjou grape, sort of an obscure grape, but a cool grape for rosé because Gros has this tendency towards lower alcohol, but still maintaining acidity, so they can get it nice and ripe without making it super like clumsy or flabby. So Les Violettes versus Chateau Montgueret and Anjou. And let's look at them literally side by side. So starting with the Les Violettes, and then here's the Anjou. And actually, I really like the color of this wine. It's sort of hard to pick it up on the cam, but really beautiful, bright, almost like radiates this sort of magenta pink color. So really beautiful looking rosé. So starting with aromatics on the Les Violettes. So there's actually quite a bit of fruit to the nose here. So think like watermelon, red delicious apples. There's a little bit of a spice and earth component to it, but the first thing that jumped out to me are those sort of fruity notes. And by comparison, when we go to the Montgueret, so this starts out with one of my favorite aromatic notes, which is really a mineral thing like ozone or fresh fallen rain. So yes, much more sort of serious, like surprisingly serious nose here. There's a little bit of fruit that shows up in more like a baked good, like, so I'm thinking like cherry tart, like sort of spiced cherry, something like that. Okay, so now we're going to take this sort of fruity aromatics of Les Violettes and try it out on the palate. So big switch here. Some of those fruit notes are still hanging out, but actually this is very dry. You get some tart fruit, some sort of like pithy sort of citrus notes, like almost the bitter side of citrus. I think also that the Grenache and the Syrah, they're doing their job here, bringing out that sort of spicy herbal side of the Rhone. So think like stemmy green herbs, rosemary, marjoram, things like that. So now we go back to the Montgueret Anjou Rosé. So remember, this started out with that sort of mineral ozone aromatic, but when I bring it onto the palate, huge disconnect here. Flips 180 degrees because this is now all of a sudden, it's all about fruit. And that's, to me, I love that. It's very classic, old school, old world winemaking where you get this big disconnect between aromatics and then what you taste on your palate. And this wine is a prime example. I think both of these are actually a prime example of that. So the fruit here on the palate, it shows up, it's not, full on sweet, but there is a candied element to it. So think like lemon drop candies where it's candy, but there's still this kind of tartness that's bracing it as well. I also get some like very ripe pear. I keep bringing up sweetness with this wine, but it is not a sweet wine. It just happens to have some of that. There's actually still a lot of acidity here. So these are both going to be really food friendly. I think the Les Violettes with that sort of very dry structure, just great versatile food wine. I would love to try this Anjou with that touch of ripeness. I'd love to try this with something a little bit spicy, maybe some Indian food, some Chinese food, something like that. It's going to balance that heat, but it's not overly sweet, so it's not going to sort of mess up anything else on your plate either. I think really though the takeaway with this wine is it's just like crushably delicious. It's insanely drinkable. So like I said, it's like this is not your grandma's rosé. It's just like leaning an inch in that direction. So maybe not grandma's rosé, but something you could like bring over and probably sneak past her if she was really picky about it. But also wines that at least I'm going to enjoy it, so probably you'll enjoy it too. So that's Les Violettes from the Côte du Rhone. Awesome, affordable, dry, drinkable rosé here. And the Rosé d'Anjou from Chateau du Montgueret with that little touch of sweetness for grandma or for you or for anyone who doesn't need a little more sweetness in their life these days. So anyway, two really fun, really drinkable rosés. Get on and check them out. Enjoy. Cheers.